Hi Year 6, welcome to the first of your 2-week home learning lessons. Unfortunately, but entirely unavoidably, we have had to go into a 2-week lockdown now that our bubble has burst. We hope that everyone's very well at home, and we're really sorry that we've had to break up our sequence of war poetry learning and our maths fractions learning. However, we will be getting back to that as soon as we're all back in school, but we have to be safe, which means we are going to be doing 2 weeks of learning from home. So welcome to your 2 weeks of online learning. The idea will always be for our English and our big read over these 2 weeks is that you will get sent out a PDF of your learning, of your tasks, your questions, your work that you need to do at home. And with each PDF, there will also be a video YouTube link for you to come and watch the video, where I will go into a little bit more detail about what you need to do, offer you some advice about how best to do it, and sort of hopefully help you get that work completed. So without any further ado then, we're going to have a bit of a look at today's big read lesson, the first of your lessons for Tuesday, the 10th of November. So the first thing you are asked to do each day is to have a good look at the Walt and the Wilf. So our Walt for our big read is to make predictions based on early evidence. Now we say early evidence because at this point you won't have watched the video, or you shouldn't have watched the video if you've done things in sequence. The video that we're going to be using for this 2 weeks is a video called Francis, which is taken from Literacy Shed. And that's going to make up the stimulus, the main point around which we are going to do our 2 weeks of lessons. But at this point, you're making early predictions, which means all I want you to see at the moment are some pictures, which we'll get onto in a moment. Our Wilf is to understand the difference between fact and opinion, because if we're going to be offering our predictions, they are only our opinion at the moment, not facts. We're going to support our opinion with evidence, in this case, evidence from the pictures, and we're going to use wider knowledge of the genre to formulate our predictions. A couple of tricky words there, genre and formulate. So genre, they are the category into which texts or films can be placed. We have things like poetry, we have things like fiction, narrative, adventure, action, romance, all sorts of different genres. I'm trying purposely not to tell you the genre of this particular video. And then formulate. Formulate is to begin to put our ideas together, to start to build an idea. So, your first task then, in your big read today, is to look closely at some pictures and to have a think about what those pictures tell us about the text, or in this case, about the video. How can we use these pictures to help us make predictions, and what evidence is there, as it says in our Wilf, what evidence is there to support those opinions? So, you've got the 4 pictures on your PDF, but let's have a look at them on here as well. We have a picture of a young-ish girl, looks to be around teenage years, seemingly peeking out from behind maybe a curtain or a tent, perhaps. Doesn't seem to be anybody else around. And she doesn't appear to be dressed as though she's been in bed. She does appear to be dressed like she's going to go somewhere. Ah, makes sense now. So we also have a picture of that same girl, it seems, coming out into what looks like a campground. We do have what looks to be 2 tents. This one here, which we presume is the tent she's come out of, and then a second tent over here. She does seem to be carrying something, which might be this book that, if I look closely, I can see in the first picture. In the third picture, We have the same girl. We can tell it's the same girl because she's wearing that same hat and carrying that book once again. But this time she's looking quite worried. I'm not going to explain to you why she looks worried. I'll leave that to you to decide. How are we shown that she looks worried, even if we're not told she looks worried? And then the final picture, again, same girl, we know, carrying the book, same hat, same lamp, seemingly walking along what you'd call either a pier or a pontoon towards a boat. So it's your task then to have a think about those 4 pictures and think carefully about what you feel like you already know of this video based on those 4 pictures. There's a lot to think about. There's actually a lot of clues in those 4 pictures. Think about the lighting. Think about what time of day it probably is. Think about where it's set. Think about what sort of things could happen. To help you in your thinking, there are some questions, 5 questions in fact. And these questions, I have designed these questions carefully to be very similar to a reading test if you were doing a reading paper. And I've put after them in brackets roughly how many marks I think these questions would be worth if this were a reading paper. So, question 1, I've asked you to think about what genre do you think the film is going to be? And we discussed what genre meant at the beginning of this short video. That's only worth 1 mark, so you're not going to be putting much detail there. Might even just be a 1 or 2 word answer. Question 2, why do you think this is? So if you've said, oh, I think this is going to be a romantic film, you then have to give me your evidence. That's going to be worth 2 marks. So that's going to be sort of your opinion supported by direct evidence from the pictures. Question 3, which is worth 3 marks. What do you think you can infer? That's using those inference skills. What do you think you can infer about the protagonist in the pictures? So looking at those pictures carefully, what can you tell me about that main character, that girl that we see walking around? I can tell you right now, her name is Frances. Question 4, what do you think might happen in the story? So that's your prediction of what you think might happen based on the evidence that you've got so far. So for example, it's unlikely that you would say, I think she's going to go to a Starbucks, buy a coffee and have a lovely time sitting there for the afternoon, because there'd be no evidence to support that. And if you're going to get 3 marks, you need evidence to support your opinion. And then finally, what texts, so what books, what stories that you've read or that you're aware of, can you think of that may have similarities with this film? And that's worth 2 marks. So that is your task. Please remember, when you've completed your work in those homework books that you've got, take a photo of it or type it up or scan it in to send to your teacher. So Cyprus class, you're going to send those to me, and Banyan class, you're going to send those to Miss Barrett. We will then be able to reply to you and give you some feedback. That's everything I've got to tell you. Any more information that you might need, do feel free to send us a message on Class Dojo, which is where you'll be sending the work to as well, please. And for now, that is everything. There will be another video for English, or there is another video for English. So make sure you're watching that when you've finished your big read and you're moving on to your English work. But for now, that's everything from me. I'll speak to you again very, very soon. And I look forward to seeing you all again once our lockdown has finished. But for now, goodbye.